Good evening, Azeroth, and welcome to episode 133 of the World of Goldcraft. I'm your host, the Lazy Goldmaker of thelazygoldmaker.com, and welcome back to the show. If you're watching this live, then make sure you get your questions in chat. I just told them before I started recording as well. I want some questions today. I really want them. I can't force them out, but I can at least heavily encourage it. Now, of course, the podcast is made available by my patrons and Twitch subs that, amongst other things, can get access to all of my content 7 days ahead of time. So if you're interested in that, then head over to patreon.com/thelazygoldmaker. Now, in this episode, I wanted to talk about a couple of news, or a couple of different news items related to World of Warcraft, and what's coming and what's happening and all of that jazz. Now, number one that I wanted to talk about is multiboxing. And Blizzard recently revised their stance on multiboxing. They went from just banning input broadcasting software and took it all the way to now clearing up the terms of service that all forms of input broadcasting and every form of automation of sending a command from one instance of WoW to multiple, so that you can control multiple characters with one key press, is now against the TOS, and if you do it, you'll get banned. Now, I don't actually know how prevalent multiboxing was after the initial ban of input broadcasting software. And my impression was that the amount of multiboxing had already gone down considerably. At least a lot of the multiboxers on Twitter seem to not do multiboxing anymore. Some of them kept at it, the most diehard people, but not that many. So I don't think that this change is driven by gameplay effects at all. I think this is a business decision that actually makes a lot of sense for Blizzard if you think about why they might do this. And the reason I think they're doing this is to free up customer service resources. Because I'm sure that you've seen, I know I've seen, because I follow a lot of gold people on Twitter and a lot of WoW people on Twitter. And very often someone will tweet like a picture of a multiboxer at Warcraft devs or whatever. And like, why are these people not banned? Multiboxing is banned, and there's been a lot of like confusion in the community with a lot of people assuming that all forms of multiboxing is banned, but it was not the case. So I think that the Blizzard has essentially been getting a lot of reports on people who are multiboxing using some kind of broadcasting, but not necessarily input broadcasting software. And dealing with those reports is going to take a lot of resources for customer service, and customer service is generally just a cost. Like, of course, you could talk about like customer service being very important to retaining customers and stuff like that, but ultimately it's a cost center, and cost optimization is very important for every business. So I honestly think that Blizzard just did this to save themselves the headache of having to read through these reports and actually look and try to figure out if this is input broadcasting or not. And now they can just go like, okay, he pressed one button and 3 characters moved at the same time. This is illegal. He's banned. Done. And then they'll spend less time in appeals. They'll spend less time on the entire like review and all that process. And I think that's why they did it. And from that perspective, I think it makes a lot of sense. And overall, I don't think it's a huge deal gameplay-wise, because there are, as I said, my impression is that there aren't that many multiboxers left. Now, I think that banning multibox farming is good for the game. I've said that in the past. Multibox farming, in terms of like multi-tapping nodes or even the standstill farms, was way too efficient. Way too efficient. And if that's too efficient, then it means that single character farming is essentially not going to work. Now, of course, they're going to have to adjust herb rates and all of that so that the consumables don't get too expensive, or the materials don't get too expensive for the average Joe player. But the average Joe player will also be generating a larger percentage of the materials in a world where multibox farming is not a thing, which means that they should have a larger share of the slice and should be able to afford more of their stuff. I've also seen a lot of players and a lot of people from the gold making community said that this will increase the rate of botting. I'm not sure I see that personally. Of course, there are some former multiboxers who might turn to botting, but I don't think that multiboxing was really economically important enough currently. That this is going to change supply significantly or make anything more expensive or less expensive. So for me, it seems like the incentives to run a bot is going to be the same as they were before. You're still going to be roughly as rich or as poor as you were before they banned the last vestige of multiboxing. There might be some people who use multiboxing who might now feel like they can't afford and their consumables or whatever and turn to botting, of course. But as I said before, I also think that assuming Blizzard wants to, they should have freed up customer service resources to deal with this. So I think ultimately that this is not a huge deal overall for people who aren't multiboxing, and for the people who like multiboxing to run all dungeons and stuff, then and soloing or doing world PvP as a multiboxer or whatever, then yeah, they're gonna lose their playstyle, and that absolutely sucks for them. No way around that. That sucks for them. But the economic efficiency of multibox farming was too good. That was too good. So we'll see where it goes. And yeah, fighting bots multiboxer is great from default name in chat, but when they still do bans in waves, it's still profitable. It's always going to be profitable to sell gold. That's never going to change. There's always going to be people who want to take a shortcut and utilize their real life money to get ahead in the game. That's just always going to be the case. And I do think so I view this as literally just Blizzard making a probably well-reasoned business decision to spend their customer service resources on other things than reviewing multi-box reports effectively. And some people get caught in the crossfire, and that's sucks for them. But that's how it is. Now, next up, TBC Launch has been announced, and it's coming so soon. So soon. The 1st of June. This is absolutely crazy to me. And there's just a 2-week pre-patch. Now, I don't understand why they give such short notice. A longer pre-patch, or at least a longer announcement, should drive up hype. Like, generally speaking, you want to announce it to drive hype and drive players to be like, I'm really looking forward to this. I want to dive into TBC. Now, the short pre-patch in particular, to me, this is like a slap in the face for the casual side of the player base who are planning to level. Like, leveling in TBC is hyper slow. Relative to retail, and people who are on the casual side, they're gonna feel left behind by their friends, which is gonna suck. But hey, that's what they went for. So yeah, the players that don't have as much time to play the game, they're gonna be left behind if they want to play Draenei's or Blood Elves, and I think that's bad. There's a lot of people who are in that category. There's a lot of old gamers in Classic and TBC Classic. A lot of people with full-time jobs who were leveling a character from 1 to 60 in 2 weeks. That's a lot of time. Obviously, we're now going to be in like the last part of the rush for TBC prep, and they're actually turning off the auction house due to the Classic character clone service. So the auction house will be unavailable for a couple of days. After the 14th of May. So I mean, this is gonna be a crazy and pretty much unprecedented time in Classic. I have no idea what's gonna happen. You can expect things to change completely from the current state of the auction house to when it opens up again after the pre-patch. Especially stuff like jewel crafting materials to level will probably be going completely crazy in the pre-patch. And especially with the auction house having been closed for a while. If you buy now, there might be some very good opportunities to sell in trade chat for a lot of items that are going to be useful in the pre-patch. And for those of you who are like the social playing the player base type of gold makers who really enjoy like making the deal and all that jazz, then this is an opportunity that it's like a once in a lifetime opportunity to take advantage of. Just playing the social game in trade chat for the days where the auction house is closed is something that can be incredibly profitable. Without the auction house to rely on, prices are gonna be a lot more volatile, and you can probably price gouge quite a bit because it's just not as easily available. So anyone who's like planning to run an axe raid over the days where the auction house is planned, for instance, suddenly they forgot about Mongoose and they need it in trade chat, and they'll be paying because their raid expects them to be consumed up. So this is gonna be a fun time. TBC launch is also going to be a fun time. It's going to be expansion launches are always good, always one of the most fun times of an MMO, and that's the case for gold making as well. There's going to be tons of opportunities. As usual, I would strongly suggest working on getting recipes unlocked for crafting. But if you're a farmer, then farming as well, just farming materials. All of the materials, this time around, everyone's coming into the expansion with a lot of gold. And so many people have a lot of gold that they are looking to splash on getting crafted prebis ASAP. So you can expect materials, you can expect crafted items, you can expect everything to sell for very high prices, and then they will most likely trend down because people will deplete their gold stockpiles. There's a lot of gold being exited from the economy through the epic flying. There's going to be gold exiting the economy, obviously, through other vendor stuff. So there'll be a gold rush, and then of course eventually we'll see some kind of TBC inflation kick in. I've read that raw gold farms are like 4 times as efficient in terms of the raw gold generated compared to classic. So obviously that's a huge deal as well. But yeah. I'm surprised they didn't give us more warning, but it's gonna be fun times if you're unless you're someone who just wanted Classic Plus, then it's gonna be those people didn't get their will, but that was never really realistic. So they're gonna get TBC Classic, and I think a lot of people are excited for that. And we'll see. I'll be going into Outland as well a little bit at least leveling to 70, and I'll be probably be streaming mostly TBC during the launch week, leveling and getting jewel crafting ready, which reminds me that I do have to try to buy materials for jewel crafting before the auction house closes. Next up, 9.1 for retail. We still don't know when it's coming exactly, but July seems like the likely choice. With the TBC launch on the 1st of June. That heavily points to 9.1 launching during July. But what are we getting? We got some more news this week, and some that are very good for us gold makers, and some that are like okay for us gold makers, or whatever. Number one is that for the Sanctum of Domination, they're planning to have fewer BOEs in terms of the slots that are covered. In Nathria, of course, you have cloaks, rings, and then 2 other slots that differ by class or by armor type. So you could have 4 BOEs in total in 9.0. In 9.1, they're going for 2 to 3 BOEs is the maximum. So it'll probably be like cloak and then 2 armor slots or something like that, or maybe cloak, ring, and a single armor slot. So if we assume that the drop rate for BOEs is going to be the same, then BOEs should be cheaper this time around, which means that BOE farming will be slightly worse. And it also means that there's going to be more BOEs of any one type if they keep the same drop rate. And what will that mean? That will mean that it'll be even harder to flip BOEs. It's already very hard to find cheap deals, and when there's going to be more of every type that they have available on the auction house, it's going to make it even harder than it is now. This is a blow to people in the BOE market, or people who are planning to be in the BOE market, I should say. Doesn't really impact what we're doing right now, of course, but BOEs should on balance be less profitable in 9.0. And this is also going to mean that the insane prices that World First Guilds are paying for BOEs right after launch is also going to be a lot less. So we'll see what you need to do to even get BOE farming going in Sanctum of Domination, if that's hard or not. That's obviously right now there's tons of BOE mythic farming communities. You can very easily get into groups for that if you want to. There's groups going pretty much all day, every day. Another very welcome change is that they're going to increase the amount of Soul Ash from Torghast by 50%. And you'll get Soul Ash for repeat runs at the reduced rate. We don't know what the reduced rate is because they didn't say. This was from the interview with the Slootbag that was yesterday. So this is good news for legendary crafters. And very good news for players as well. I'm super happy that I can now get more rank 4 legendaries, essentially, because I want to test out. I want to play my off specs, or I want to play M+ with the best M+ legendary. And this means that people will have enough Soul Ash to get a lot of rank 4 legendaries in 9.1. And I think people will be getting a lot of rank 4 legendaries in 9.1. I know I will. Because playing with different legendaries will change up your playstyle, and change is fun. Changing up your playstyle is really fun. So I think this is going to be very good for gold making with rank 4s in particular. We'll see how this impacts the lower ranks. This will probably kill off the market a little bit for rank 2s and 3s. It depends on how much Soul Ash you can farm with the repeat runs and how effective that is. If you can just like spend the day doing Torghast and get a rank 4 legendary, then I expect people will never buy rank 2s and 3s ever again. They'll just farm up enough Soul Ash to go straight to rank 4. We still don't know anything about the Vestige of Origins, so we'll have to wait for that. And we'll just have to see how the rank 5 and 6 legendaries work. That's still up in the air, essentially. But those two changes, I really like the Soul Ash thing. I think that's very good both for the game. Just as a player, this is something that makes me happy for 9.1. Gonna make playing my characters more interesting because I can change around specs and legendaries a bit more. And then the BOEs, it doesn't matter much because I don't really do BOEs. It's very bad to flip BOEs in this expansion already. So that's about it. Now, we got a question from chat, from Vythal. What are some of the raw gold farms for TBC Classic? Well, I'm the wrong person to ask because I don't do farming at all. So I don't actually know what the raw gold farms for TBC Classic is. Because I don't raw gold. I never raw gold farmed in Classic. That's I felt that gold per hour is really, really low for what you get. And I'm not planning to do so in TBC either. I'll be making my money with flipping, with crafting, and flipping and crafting is going to be super good because we're playing on the old auction house where you can use stack sizing to your advantage and overcut. You don't even have to be the cheapest. Just sell in the nice, even, good stack sizes and people will buy. So yeah, I'll be doing that and making a lot of gold. So that's it for this episode. Hopefully you enjoyed this. If you have, if you like the show, leave a like or a comment or share it with your friends. And yeah, have a profitable week and see you on the next one. Goodbye, guys.